So in this video, I'm going to give you guys the real reason why I think Sam Altman is raising $7 trillion for AI chip fabrication. And I genuinely think the real reason is going to shock you once you listen to the entire video, because the real reason, although hypothetical, is rather surprising. So it was a couple of days ago that I saw this article where it stated that Sam Altman seeks trillions of dollars to reshape business of chips and AI. And at first, when I saw this, I genuinely thought that this was some kind of meme. I thought that this was some kind of joke, because 7 trillion is such a high valuation that, it's never been recorded in the history of funding rounds for someone to raise $7 trillion for a project. However, this is a very new and advanced technology, so this could be quite different. Now, the article went on to state that this project could require raising as much as 5 trillion to 7 trillion, okay? And that he was in talks with investors, including the UAE, to raise funds for a wildly ambitious tech initiative that would boost the world's chip building capacity, and among other things. Now, essentially, there are two main reasons here, okay? The first one is one that people have covered before that you do know about, and I'm going to quickly dive into that only for about a minute or two. And then the second reason is one that no one's really covered, and I'm not surprised why. So, of course, quickly, guys, if you didn't know, there were actually just a bunch of huge chip shortages. So, basically, the problem is that in the pandemic, there were a ton of shortages due to supply chain issues. And essentially, COVID-19, what that led to, of course, was, the work from home era. And with the work from home era, we had a much higher demand for PCs, laptops, smartphones, a lot more online activity, yada, yada, yada. That required a lot more chips, which all led to a reduction in supply. Of course, we additionally had the rollout of 5G towers, which are very semiconductor intensive, and that additionally added to it. Now, there's one thing that people also weren't thinking about, okay? There was an even bigger problem, and that is, of course, the fact of TSMC. Now, if you don't know what this company is, it's probably the world's most important company that most people have no idea exists. And this 2-minute clip is very important to understanding the context of why this clip is so important. And then after you watch this clip and you understand half the reason, like 25% of the reason, I'm going to show you guys the rest of the reason that I truly think he is raising $7 to $5 trillion and why that valuation actually does make sense despite its outlandish claims.
The future of artificial intelligence hangs in the balance. The Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, makes all of the world's most advanced AI chips. This includes NVIDIA's GPUs, Google's TPUs, AMD's GPUs, the AI chips from Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, Cerebras, SambaNova, and every other credible competitor. Modern artificial intelligence simply would not be possible without these highly specialized chips. Little wonder then that Time magazine recently described TSMC as, quote, the world's most important company that you've probably never heard of. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang put it more colorfully, saying, quote, basically there is air and TSMC. TSMC's chip fabrication facilities, or fabs, the buildings where chips are physically built, is located on the western coast of Taiwan, a mere 110 miles from mainland China. In this map, Taiwan is shown in orange and China is shown in green. Today, China and Taiwan are nearer to the brink of war than they have been in decades. Many policymakers in Washington predict that China will invade Taiwan within the next 5 years. A China-Taiwan conflict would be devastating for many reasons. Aside from the heavy human toll, one underappreciated consequence is that it would paralyze the global AI ecosystem. Put simply, the entire field of artificial intelligence faces an astonishingly precarious single point of failure in Taiwan.
Now, the reason I added that clip is because most people don't realize that that is the case. And this was something that I saw on TED AI. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is actually a big deal. I knew TSMC was important, but I also didn't realize the geopolitical tensions that were going on in the region that could cripple AI development. So that is, of course, a huge reason why people are moving AI companies overseas in order to produce their chips in-house. Now, there is other reasons for Sam raising 7 trillion, and this is where things start to get interesting. So, of course, I'm going to talk to you guys about these comments that Sam Altman made. So he tweeted, OpenAI now generates about 100 billion words per day. All people on Earth generate 100 trillion words per day. And then he said, need more people. And Sam Altman responds, need more GPUs. And then someone else responded stating, how many GPUs can 7 trillion buy? And Sam Altman stated, probably a lot of effing GPUs. I don't know why. So it's good to say that, Sam Altman is backing his statement that he does need these GPUs. But for what reason? Okay, does this mean that AGI is near? And I personally believe, or I'm leaning more towards the fact that 7 trillion isn't just for chip fabrication. It's more so because AGI is either already here or just around the corner. And if you don't believe that statement, just watch the next 5 to 10 minutes because you're about to understand where that belief comes from. So remember this, okay? So Reuters actually reported this, and I'm not sure if many people did see this. Of course, there was a lot of news going on at the time because Sam Altman was fired, but Reuters actually stated that ahead of Sam Altman's firing, several staff researchers wrote a letter to the board of directors warning of a powerful AI discovery that they said could threaten humanity. Two people familiar with the matter told Reuters. And I've put at the top that Reuters is a reputable source, and if you go on Google, you do some research, you'll understand that Reuters is a reputable source and that this claim is true. So we know that this claim is true, that researchers wrote a letter to the board warning of a powerful discovery that could threaten humanity. So if we know that this is true and that the unreported letter and the AI algorithm were key developments before the ouster of Altman, means that something else is going on, okay? And remember, in addition, Sam Altman did also confirm that the Q-star model breakthrough in an interview, I'm not sure with who, I don't remember where this article's from, but it was from a very reputable source. They said no particular comment on that unfortunate leak. So Sam Altman did perform that the Q-star leak, elements of that were true. So there was clearly some kind of breakthrough at OpenAI. Now, here's the thing, okay? If there was some kind of AGI breakthrough at OpenAI, if we got that from Reuters, if Sam Altman then stated that, look, we had an unfortunate leak, some people are questioning that, look, if they had AGI, they would throw everything they have at hardware, they would hire like mad on this front due to AGI being the end of software. I don't agree with the end of that comment, but, you know, someone said now, what are they doing currently? Right now, 7 trillion is like huge. Like that is a really, really huge thing. Now, the AI breakthrough that, you know, OpenAI probably did have, and Q-Star, and all of those rumors that are floating around that are probably true, aren't that big of a deal when you take a look at this crazy statement, because this is a tweet that made me make this video. Sam Altman said, thought experiment, and please just screenshot this, share this around, because I don't know why people aren't looking at this, okay? It says, thought experiment. At what rate should you be willing to borrow money to build a data center if extremely powerful AI is close at hand? And this was, I think it was a month after he was fired due to, I don't know if it was a breakthrough or, you know, because the reason that they gave was really, really vague on why Sam Altman was fired. So this tweet here, you know, coming a month after, you know, allegedly Q-Star breakthrough, Sam Altman being fired, you know, just a whole load of craziness going on at OpenAI, is thought-provoking because he's basically stating that, look, I'm going to be borrowing money if an extremely powerful AI is close at hand because I know that in the future, the money is not going to be as valuable because we have this technology that's about to completely change society. So Sam Altman states, okay, literally, I think around 2 months ago or even like a month ago, that what rate would you be willing to borrow money to build a data center? And then, of course, next month, he's asking for $7 trillion. You have to ask yourself, is that really a coincidence, okay? Like, is that a coincidence that he's asking for $7 trillion, talking about thought experiments? There is definitely, I would presume, a extremely powerful AI close at hand. And in addition, take a look at this from their core values. They state that scale. We believe that scale in our models, our systems, ourselves, and our processes, and our ambitions is magic. And when in doubt, scale it up. So it's clear that scale is something that they're going to be doing when they want to increase the capability of their systems. And 7 trillion is a really, really high amount. And if you aren't convinced, we're going to keep going, okay? So remember, okay, of course, there was course with the Q-Star that the new model was able to solve math problems that it hadn't seen before. And this was, of course, because the way that they're able to look at models, they're able to see that what a smaller version of the model is able to do, if it's able to do insanely well, they know that the larger model is going to be even better than that. Now, of course, like I said, it can't be a coincidence that Sam Altman is looking to raise 7 trillion or 10% of global GDP for an AI chip company. And Rowan says here, it's hard to comprehend, but no person would even consider this unless they achieve something that will fundamentally reshape the entire world. And what is something that would fundamentally reshape the entire world? It's AGI. So I don't think that Sam Altman raising 7 trillion is outlandish. It actually makes sense considering the fact that there are many things that lead us to believe that they already have achieved AGI or some really super advanced AI system. And with the Reuters letter stating that, you know, there was something that could threaten humanity, there was something that was really smart, Sam Altman stating that there was an unfortunate leak, and of course 2 people stating that this could, of course, just do unspeakable things to humanity, this is no surprise. Now, in addition, of course, there is this tweet here that said if Sama is actually trying to raise 7 trillion for chip fabs, there's a good chance they actually have AGI internally. You don't raise $7 trillion with a pitch deck. You gotta have the goddamn McMuffin in your pocket. And essentially what that means is, guys, when you're raising money for a company, you have essentially a pitch deck. You go to investors with, a bright slide or whatever. I guess you could say it's kind of like Shark Tank, but what you don't do is you don't got to go there and you're going to say, we're probably going to be able to do this. What you have is you have a demo in which you tell the investors exactly what's going to do. You have also a pitch deck where you show them what's going to be on. Now, if you don't know what Shark Tank is, it's basically a show where these people, Kevin O'Leary and Mark Cuban, with all of these billionaires and multimillionaires, you essentially, come with a presentation and you state why you need their investment. And these people give your investment based on how well they believe your product or idea is going to be. Now, how well do you think you have to be doing in order to, I guess you could say, get $7 trillion? Like, what do you have to ask for? What do you have to show someone in order to get $7 trillion from some of the world's largest, corporations and alliances? Okay, I think you're going to have to show a technology that will literally change the world. And the only technology that we do know that's going to change the world that would require $7 trillion in chip fabrication is, of course, AGI. Now, in addition to this, from their website, again, this is from OpenAI's blog, they've stated that we seem to have been given lots of gifts relative to what we expected earlier. For example, it seems like creating AGI will require huge amounts of compute, and thus the world will know who is working on it. And it seems the original conception of hyper-evolved reinforcement learning agent competing with each other in a way we can't understand, yada yada yada. Okay, the point here is they stated that AGI will require huge amounts of compute, and thus the world will know exactly who is working on it. Okay, and of course, what are OpenAI doing right now? They are, of course, working on AGI, and potentially they've achieved it. And there's also a secret reason why I think, something hasn't changed to OpenAI, and I'm going to talk about that later. But I want to tell you guys a little theory that I do have why I think OpenAI haven't changed something. Okay, so in addition, we also do have this right here. Okay, so AGI could happen soon in the far future. Takeoff speed from initial AGI to more powerful successor systems could be slow or fast. Many of us think the safest quadrant in this 2x2 matrix is short timelines and slow takeoff speeds. Shorter timelines, and this is where you got to pay attention, shorter timelines seem more amenable to coordination and more likely to lead to slower takeoff due to less of a compute overhang. And a slower takeoff gives us more time to figure out how to make these systems safe. So essentially what they're saying here is that if AGI starts to improve slowly instead of all at once, we have more time to figure out how to make it safe. And the idea is that having less of a compute overhang and not having like ridiculous amounts of computing power waiting to be used makes a sudden uncontrollable leap in AI abilities less likely, making us be able to predict the capabilities and make AI safe. So if OpenAI is considered a safe and responsible company, the concern of a compute overhang where all of the computational power becomes available and rapidly accelerates AI capabilities might be less worrisome if OpenAI already solved the problem of these jumps in abilities. So that's why I'm stating that they state that, it's less due to a compute overhang. Like, they don't want to have all of the compute because, of course, if all of that compute is there, then people could just build these rapidly evolving systems. But now they're asking for 7 trillion to build huge amounts of systems. Does that mean that they've already solved the problem? So the argument could be made that if they're seeking such a large investment, they may already have the strategies in place to ensure any advancements, including AGI, are developed and deployed safely, minimizing the risks associated with rapid, unchecked growth in AI capabilities. And of course, that is not the only thing that does interest. Now, another question that we do have is, of course, is the 7 trillion doable? Okay, and I'm going to present to you the first argument, and then I'm going to talk to you guys why 7 trillion is potentially doable. Okay, so hear me out for a second, because you might be thinking that this isn't doable, but I'm going to show you guys why 7 trillion is probably doable, and I'm going to bring it back to AGI in a second. So number one is, of course, raising money from sovereign wealth funds, and some of the largest sovereign wealth funds, such as Norway's government pension fund Global, have assets under management that are in the range of 1 trillion, but way still below the 7 trillion. Okay, Of course, we've got central banks, and central banks manage their country's currency supply and monetary policy and have significant financial assets. However, their resources are primarily aimed at stabilizing and managing the economy, not at investment in the manner proposed. These guys just want their money to, of course, ensure that the economy is stabilized, because anything can happen. They're going to need to print money. They're going to need to, raise rates to this. They're going to need to do many different things. In addition, we also do have private equity and venture capital. And while these entities manage significant sums of money and invest in various sectors, including technology and AI, their combined assets under management globally don't even approach $7 trillion. And in addition to that, we have the multinational corporations and the world's largest companies like Apple, Microsoft, Saudi Aramco, Nvidia they may have market capitalizations and cash reserves in the hundreds of billions, but they aren't in the trillions of dollars. And then, of course, the last one is the international coalitions and partnerships. And achieving the funding of $7 trillion for a project would likely require unprecedented international coalitions of governments, private investors, and financial institutions pooling resources together. Now, whilst you might think, okay, this is clearly impossible, there's no way he's going to raise $7 trillion to $5 trillion, let alone $3 trillion or even $1 trillion. But I think in one scenario, it is possible. In one scenario, it is possible to raise this amount of money. Do you know which scenario that is? That is scenario in which AGI has been achieved. If AGI has been achieved, and I'm linking back to a comment I saw on Reddit, I think you guys have no idea at the amount of money that people would be throwing money at this technology. It says here that the entire world would be throwing money hand over fist at any company that had AGI. Corporations would pay anything to have it. They could replace companies that cost them tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, meaning they would happily part with the $5K per seat access to AGI. If that means they could let go of an employee, they pay $40K per year to do so. Even regular people would be paying $99 a month or even more for access to AGI. I know I would pay whatever they asked, and that is so true. And of course, OpenAI could just use the AGI itself to make tons of money. It could build amazing businesses, invent patents. True AGI would be the easiest moneymaker of all time. And that is so true. Guys, if AGI had been achieved, which we're going to talk about in a moment, raising $7 trillion wouldn't be hard at all. If they had a real demo of an artificial general intelligence system that was good, that worked, was able to, do all of the things that we know AGI is going to be able to do, that would be the most valuable product in our lifetime, okay? And of course, one thing that I did want to check was speculative valuations. Asked GPT-4 for speculative valuations, and it came conclusion that given these considerations, a speculative valuation of AGI could easily be in the tens of trillions of dollars when considering its potential to enhance the global economic output, save costs, and create new value streams. Remember, AGI will impact the global economy, and essentially what they used was the global GDP as a baseline, which was 84 trillion in 2020, and even a 1% increase due to AGI could add 840 billion annually. And with different calculations, it could easily be in the tens of trillions. So raising 7 trillion to 5 trillion for a technology that's going to bring about this much economic growth isn't impossible. And I also did ask Gemini, and it came up with a different calculation, which was around 45 trillion or, 135 trillion. So these valuations aren't completely, insane. And there was also some other stuff, okay? Because think about it like this, okay? Raising 7 trillion is arguably doable if AGI has been achieved internally. But we already know that AGI was, I guess you could say, achieved internally in terms of some comments made by Sam Altman himself. Earlier this year, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman sent the tech world into a frenzy with a 5-word Reddit post: AGI has been achieved internally. And AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. It's the holy grail of AI research. Essentially, the true AGI would be a brain-like intelligence capable of reasoning, creative thought, and perhaps even consciousness. And Altman posting about achieving AGI was a huge deal. It would be akin, and it's important, to a top scientist posting nuclear fusion works. So that is why, guys, of course, Altman's saying he's memeing. He could just be memeing. He could just be joking. But essentially, guys, if AGI was achieved, which there is a mountain of evidence to suspect that it has been, or is at least very near around the corner, raising 7 trillion does make sense. Now, here's one thing that I think most people haven't realized, okay? And this is something that nobody's talking about, okay? GPT-4, with DALL-E browsing and analysis, they are limiting people to 40 messages every 3 hours, okay? And one reason that we know that they do this is because, of course, the compute demand from GPT-4 is very, very expensive, And of course, it's very computationally expensive. So the thing is, okay, I don't think that OpenAI are devoting all of their compute to GPT-4. I do think that if they really wanted to, they could devote more of their compute and give people access, maybe 100 messages every 3 hours like they did before. But they did actually change it back down from 100 messages every 3 hours back down to 40 messages every 3 hours. And I think that's because they're using their compute for something else. If you haven't realized, guys, GPT-4, if we take a look at this, GPT-4 was finished training, or had finished training in August of 2022. And that is 532 days ago, okay? And they've spent, 6 months fine-tuning the model. And when GPT-4 was, done and they were fine-tuning it, we had no idea. Guys, 2022 was quite some time ago, okay? And if you remember the AI systems around then, there was pretty much no AI hype. So, 532 days ago, they finished training the model, and of course they spent all that time doing the alignment. What do you think they have now? The question is, what do you think they've done in 532 days? The top AI research labs, what have they done in that time? In that time, other companies have managed to catch up near in open source. There have been numerous GPT-4 benchmarks, which means that GPT-5 or any AI successor system from OpenAI, who arguably had the largest lead in terms of AI development, is likely to be outstanding. And we know that with software and AI and with these geniuses that work at OpenAI, these breakthroughs are definitely inevitable. So from Sam Altman's tweet stating that, what rate should you be willing to borrow money if an extremely powerful, close AI is literally around the corner, and from their core values stating that, they're going to scale up things, and from the fact that, no person would ever consider raising 7 trillion if they hadn't achieved something that would fundamentally reshape the entire world, and due to the fact that they also stated that they probably do wanted a slower takeoff because that gives us time to figure out how to solve the problem and it's largely better, but then now actually stating that they want more compute, leads me to believe that, one, AGI has probably been achieved, or some, kind of really, really smart AI has been achieved, and they just really want to scale this thing. And of course, number two, if they have achieved AGI, that's the only reason they'd be asking for $7 trillion. Of course, there is the issue of companies like TSMC being, I guess you could say, the bottleneck of AI chip production, but it really doesn't justify raising $7 trillion when the global chip sales, I think, was around $500 to $800 billion last year. So that is a ton of information, and I think it all points to one thing. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think they have AGI already? Do you think that this is just mere speculation? Do you think that these technologies aren't as smart as we think? And I'm going to leave you guys with this tweet. If Sam is actually trying to raise 7 trillion for chip fabs, there's a good chance they have AGI internally. Let me know what you think. I think that this is something fascinating because we are about to witness the next decade of evolution in terms of society. And it will be interesting to see if some of the early predictions made here were correct or completely off. Either way, I'm excited.